ahead on the Park the Bus podcast.
Do you ever get stressed? Does your heartbeat ever go above 90 beats per minute?
Emo Field on a game day. I've got to find 22 tickets. There's people waiting outside.
What will it mean to you when you're lining up next summer in Toronto?
We'll have shoes.
We're about 30 seconds from going on. Stevie's at the back of the booth with 10 Scottish
the
people.
ultimate club ambassador.
This is the Park the Bus podcast with Stephen Caldwell, Kevin Kilbane and Luke Wileman.
Welcome to Graham Leggett's. This is Park the Bus, and on this week's show, Jonathan David joins us from Italy as he prepares to make his Serie A debut with Juventus. And after Matthew Scianitti's controversial list last week, we'll talk to him, we'll get him on the show, and we'll throw him under the bus while we also ask him the latest on Cyle Larin's future. But we start with a big topic. Well, it was great to have the Premier League back this weekend. Incredible games, all kicked off on Friday. And I have to say, before we get into the actual game, one of my highlights of the weekend was seeing the way Anfield remembered Diogo Jota and his brother.
And Wolves.
And Wolves as well. But the 10 minutes...
all around the Premier League.
The 10 minutes leading up to kick-off at Anfield with You'll Never Walk Alone, and then the silence and the way that it was shot for television was absolutely special. And Liverpool did that so well. But then the whistle blew, and my first thought was, OK, let's sit down and watch this and see if Kev's right. Is Florian Wirtz a flop?
I can't believe you're even thinking like that straight off
that was
the bat.
First thing I was hoping he
of.
was going to score a hat-trick.
I
already had the text message ready. See Kev, and then he didn't.
I have to say, I didn't watch all the game. I watched a chunk of it.
I watched a chunk of the game as well.
He was a bit disappointing, but
a bit. It was very disappointing.
Very.
I think he's going to find it. Yeah, I think he's going to find it. And it's not me just throwing out, because I was at Everton. You watch him play, and the way that Liverpool have been so successful in the last few years has been playing in a 4-3-3 system. Now there's an adaptation now. It is a 4-2-3-1 essentially, and he's going to play as a 10. And I don't know if he's going to be the real type of player that is going to be running. He's going off the ball. He's going to be closing down. He's going to be. I don't know if he's going to do that, and I don't know if he's going to get the space that's required for him to really shine. And it's a bit of a hunch because he may go on and be a superstar.
I hope he does.
He probably will be.
I want nothing more this season.
But he is a superstar.
MVP.
But he probably will be. He probably will be. And
he is a superstar. It's whether he can adapt to Premier League, isn't it?
I don't know if he can, and that's the way I still go on that one.
My comment for the weekend on that Wirtz related is Zubamendi, Gyökeres, Wirtz, top players. Šeško came on, only 20 minutes. Every one of them really struggled. It's the hardest league in the world to adapt to. It takes time, especially when you've been playing in a slower, more technical league, maybe in Europe. It's not easy to come into the Premier League. Two new boys in Buemo and Cunha, who have played in the Premier League, were up to speed right away. So I think we'll rate him in 12, 15 games, Kev.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I don't disagree with the fact is that he's going to take time and he might need to. It's just that figure that's been paid for him, it's expected that he's got to go in straight away and be flying. And he has to score goals and create goals straight away. And he's got to be the really main focal point of that team. And for him to adapt and be that guy, if we get 10 or 15 games in and he's struggling a little bit, then that has a knock-on effect to the fans because the fans groan every time he gives the ball away or he's not getting in possession. And it builds pressure, especially playing for a club like Liverpool. So that's what I feel. I probably will be proved wrong, Luke. But I just think it's one to watch anyway.
What else did you watch?
Well, Liverpool game first, Konaté had a stinker.
Yeah.
He was awful. He was all over the place. So defensively, I think going on the Community Shield and the start, there's a bit of work to be done defensively from a side we expect to be absolutely solid.
Yeah.
But they're going to score a lot of goals. They found a way. I watched my old team, Sunderland.
Yeah, I didn't see that. I saw the goals from that one. I didn't watch that.
They struggled. A lot of new boys, a lot of boys that hadn't played in the Premier League as well. So you kind of saw that. It was poor in the first half. West Ham were better. Wouldn't say they were great. Second half, West Ham were awful. And Sunderland got a goal out of nothing. Great header, Mayenda, great header, and then they really, as you can imagine, Kev,
I saw the atmosphere at the Stadium of Light. It's an incredible stadium. Incredible stadium.
They went on, won comfortably. I watched that one. I was delighted to see that place rocking again. They fans absolutely deserve Premier League football.
I don't know if they still do, but they used to play the classical music.
Yeah,
as the
I
team
think
was
they
coming
still
out,
do it.
really got it. Because
Yeah,
I remember in
forget
that
what it's called,
documentary,
but it's amazing.
that
Wanted to
documentary
change
at one
it.
point, they wanted to change it, and they're like, no, you,
Well,
you
it goes,
cannot
it's
do
the
that.
classical music into Ready to Go
Yes.
by,
Yeah.
what's the song, who sings that song? So that's what it is.
Yeah.
But when you were down the tunnel at the Stadium
You
of
see
Light,
it coming on.
oh my
It's
word.
amazing, wasn't it?
Amazing. It
Yeah.
really was great to play at that stadium when you get that little tingle when you're going down the tunnel, yeah.
I did like doing games there. Right at the start of my career, I did a game at Roker Park.
Yeah.
Sunderland's old stadium, which had
I was
that
never at Roker Park.
I played a
incredible
reserve
feel.
game. Played a reserve game there.
The terracing, it was falling apart, but it was just like it was really nice.
Yeah,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Just because it was so old.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you get to the new stadium and they put the press box at the front, just not too far behind the dugout.
Yes, I know what
initially.
you mean.
Initially.
And you got
before-
wet. So I'm
Yeah.
trying to do the games and I don't like getting wet. I much prefer it now where you're
It's
in a
too
nice brewery
precious
with
to
air
get wet,
conditioning.
isn't it? Yeah.
I don't like getting
Yeah,
wet.
I know.
But no,
it's like-
for both of Sunderland and Leeds, two promoted teams to get wins
Yeah.
in the opening weekend
it's
is
huge.
huge.
I
to
think
get off to a
I
good
read it. I
start.
think it was October last year before any of the promoted sides got a win last year.
Wow.
So that's a statement straight off, isn't it? That Leeds and Sunderland, Leeds beat Everton. I watched bits of that game. I didn't see a lot. I saw the penalty incident. That's something that's caused a bit of controversy this weekend.
Go on then.
And we talk about refereeing decisions. Look, I thought it was a penalty, right? That's the way I
thought
feel.
it was a
And
penalty.
I thought it was a penalty, but the message that's come out in awarding that penalty is wrong. In what's been said, arm towards the ball, and his arm's not in an unnatural position. I watched the Community Shield the week before with Alexis McAllister.
Yeah.
Clear handball, went to VAR review, and I thought it was a clear handball because his arm was in an unnatural position. His arm was above his head, hit his arm, penalty, in my opinion, wasn't given. So again, it comes back to this consistency, decisions, and how they're going to do it. But to me, it probably was, but the logic behind giving that decision, I didn't agree with, and again, it's making a mess of how the decision process. Because we saw for the first weekend as well that the referees actually explained the decision on field, like we see in the MLS. So that's new to the Premier League as well.
Yeah.
I think it's got mixed reviews, but I think it's better. I think certainly for the supporter in the stadium, I think they're getting a better experience of why that
Explanation
decision.
as to
Explanation
why,
is what's
yeah.
needed. Absolutely.
Felt like a bit of homework call to me. Felt like,
Yes.
the
Penalty.
crowd helped get that penalty.
Yeah.
Well, that's another place. We
Well,
talk
they said
about
it was the
Sunderland.
linesman.
Leeds is-
Sorry.
Leeds is-
Yeah, that's amazing. But just a quick one. But they said that it's come out that the linesman gave the decision.
Yes.
The linesman could not possibly see that. He could not see what's happened.
Yeah.
So as the linesman has seen something in his own head that he's put his arm in an unnatural position to give that penalty. So to me, that was the only thing that's come out off the back of it to say, how can that linesman, being so far from the incident, give that decision?
But he got it right.
Yes, probably did. But you understand where I'm coming from that because I think James Tarkowski. Did you see his interview post game?
I didn't see post-game,
I saw it
but he
online.
looked absolutely furious on the field.
It was a good interview.
Yeah.
Check it out on
He is
YouTube
good.
or whatever.
He's good at speaking.
Yeah,
isn't he, Tarkowski?
it was very good.
I
Very
think
good.
you have to say, if it hadn't been given, the VAR isn't intervening.
No.
No.
But it was given, and the VAR, David Moyes was not happy with the VAR for not intervening and turning it over.
Yeah.
But then you've got to talk about, and it's Howard Webb who's running the referees there. We know him well from his time in Major League Soccer. They want a high bar for VAR intervention.
Yeah.
So I don't really know. You both think they got the right decision.
Yeah.
So is it that much of an issue?
No, I think it's not. But I think it's because it's the start of the season, and I've spoken in recent weeks about some of the decisions. We didn't really get into it last week, and I wanted to, but a lot of the decisions, I've probably seen it week in, week out now. Some of the refereeing in the MLS has been dreadful. And I can't get away from that. We go back to that Vancouver game a couple of weeks ago now, or 10 days ago, whenever it was. Some of the decisions in that game, when Ocampo got that red card, was just bordering on the ridiculous.
Yeah,
it was
terrible.
ridiculous. And we're seeing this now that a lot of the reviews in MLS, and I see you guys, when you guys are calling the game, usually I'm sat in the studio listening to you guys, and you would say, well, it's probably not going to be called for review. And then it's called for review. And you think,
and you're wondering why.
Why is it being called for review? Look, if we're arguing about it and we're borderline on it, it should not be called to review.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah.
It has to be egregious for it to be...
Clear cut, absolute clear cut.
Yeah.
But we've found so many.
It has to be the Caldwell 2 studs to the chest
Yes.
to valet the Kansas City
Absolutely.
player
No,
but
to be
there's
sent off by
absolutely
Baldomero
many
Toledo.
grey areas in this game. I think the big criticism of VAR is it just adds another opinion-based decision. Do you know what I mean? It's too hard to decide on a lot of these. So.
No, and
I
I'm
don't
not
know.
going to be critical. I don't want to be critical just solely to the MLS. I've seen a lot of bad refereeing within the
it's been
MLS. But I think across the board, we're seeing this inconsistency anyway.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
I would say, just on the weekend games, Man United, better, a lot better.
Yeah.
Still need some pieces. Arsenal, so boring.
Yeah.
So boring.
But they won.
But they won. But I don't think that's enough to win them the league, for sure. Newcastle and Villa still works in progress, for sure.
That was a bad game. I watched that game, actually.
Yeah,
It was a terrible game to watch.
and I've criticised new boys coming into the Premier League, but I have to say, Tijani Reinders was unbelievable for Man City. It looks
What a
like
debut.
he could be a De Bruyne heir apparent. You know, he was someone who was that go-between between midfield and strikers, a support for Haaland. His runs that he made, his bits of skill here and there, his assists, his goal. Superb. I'm looking forward to seeing more of him and City, because
And
I
we
think
picked him
City are
out.
right in the hunt, Kev.
We had him at the Euros. If you remember going back to the Euros, he wasn't starting for the Dutch at the Euros. I'm trying to think, what, 20... When was the Euros? 24, wasn't it? Last year. So we had a lot on Reinders. Every game, we were going, this
Good
guy.
player.
And obviously then he'd had that big move to AC Milan as it was going into the Euros, I think it was, or maybe the year before, but top player. And then he's going on to the next level now, which he is, because no matter, we're not having the debate around Serie A and all these sort of things, but AC Milan are not at the level at Manchester City, so he's going to another level with another demanding coach, a high demanding coach. And for him to go and have the debut like he's had, because Guardiola's got a history of signing players and hardly playing them over the first 6 months.
Yeah.
He likes to integrate them over time. But
right
for him
in
to
there.
go into, you say, that De Bruyne position, that's a huge hole for City, and do what he's done, that's a warning, I think, to everybody that City are going to be the real deal again this year,
Kev's managed to bring up one of his 2 favourite topics in the opening few minutes of this week's show, the referees.
Yeah,
Right.
of
So
course.
now we'll get to another one in goalkeepers, because that's the other. No, but
I know.
okay.
Yeah.
Donnarumma.
Yeah.
Where's he going to end up? Is it going to be the Premier League? And if so, where? And the other thing is that's interesting me about this is that PSG have made the decision quickly to move on.
Ruthless.
We see things happening like Isaac at Newcastle, players elsewhere trying to force their way out of situations. And even a player like Donnarumma, who has played at the very highest level for both his club and his country, a club can just make a decision like that and it's on the way.
We all found
Who
it
needs
bizarre.
him?
We found it bizarre. Chelsea need him. If I was Chelsea,
Man
I'd sign
United
him
need him.
instantly. Man United absolutely need him. Is it a drop-off going from PSG to Chelsea and Man United? Maybe not Chelsea, I suppose, because Chelsea have to be serious contenders.
They were very poor at the weekend as well. Chelsea.
Chelsea, yes, they were.
Against
actually.
Palace.
They were. I watched a lot of that game as well. And
Still
they
a
were,
bit
Stephen.
inconsistent for me.
What about Man City then? Because he's been linked seriously with that City move. Man
But
City.
they signed Trafford.
They signed Trafford again. Is he going to be number one at Man City?
He did well on Saturday. Not a lot of action, but I think Trafford deserves a chance.
There's a chance. Well,
But, I mean, this PSG Donnarumma thing is...
there's not a lot of options for him.
Well, not a lot of options, considering that we believe he's asking for astronomical wages.
Yeah.
And that's a big reason as to why PSG decided he's out
Which,
the door.
of course, no goalie deserves. But anyway, that's
Why? You say they're all hopeless. If one's good, surely he deserves some money.
No, I'm joking.
No, but you were going to say about the PSG.
Yeah, I just find
situation.
it so strange. I think, a little bit in terms of his style, but he was brilliant for them in the Champions League. Games that they would have lost with an
Villa game
inferior
that stands out
goalkeeper.
in my head.
I don't think he is the best goalkeeper in the world, but I think when he is on, he is almost unstoppable, which is an incredible gift for a goalkeeper when he's making saves that are just incredible, that probably no other goalie can make. He's outstanding. So for them to discard him, I can only believe it's to do with the wages and to do with setting a tone. Luis Enrique want to set a tone with his club because he's going to have more of this, Kev, isn't he? He's got a lot of young players that are going to start demanding bigger and bigger wages.
Where does he go? This is the thing. I said
It's going to be Premier League.
Chelsea
or Man United.
Chelsea or Man United. That's his. That's
For
you
me,
think his
that's
options?
it. For me, that's it. They're the most desperate. They're capable of paying him whatever it is, 300-400 grand a week. that's where
But
he's gonna
Chelsea
land.
Chelsea have took a real or strict measures to reduce that wage bill and not pay. They give players 9 and 10 year contracts in some cases to reduce the wage bill to try to get everything down to a level rather than be paying the 200,000, 300,000, 400,000
I think
a
it was
week.
Nicholas Jackson I saw yesterday, 2033.
2033,
Is
yeah.
that right?
Yeah.
I think that's right. Cole Palmer signed a 9 or a 10 year contract as well.
So how are they getting rid of these guys like Jackson? They want to move him on.
Yeah.
He's going to want 6 years at least of his deal to be paid, whatever it is. How are they going to move him on?
Yeah. The logic behind it is to reduce it's the PSR thing, isn't it? Where they're trying to reduce.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
But then they're stuck
But
with
then
these
they're stuck with
guys
the
on
player.
7, 8
but
year
Chelsea
deals.
have been like that for 20 years.
Yeah.
They've had a huge list of players that's on the roster there, and they've struggled to get them away. So they've been gone on loan to Holland or wherever to try to get them out while still paying half the wages.
Well, don't bring up circumventing financial fair play and things like that to Stevie, because he is the most angelic person. Last week he
Rules
was
are
talking
rules,
about
guys.
he would
Rules
not
are
have
rules.
Rodrigo de Paul in MLS. He would not have Thomas Müller at the Whitecaps.
I would have them in MLS on the right contract.
because they're not
He
being paid
he
enough.
puts words in my mouth, doesn't he?
By the way, seeing Müller as a
Brilliant.
Whitecaps player
I
was.
was so gutted when that goal got disallowed. For such a weird offside.
It was
Everyone
so
was,
tight as
why
well.
was it off?
I don't know if I was watching the game.
Yeah.
And it was so tight. And when you just we only had one replay on the screen, you watch it, and it gives a quick replay, then it kind of moved on, and it was nothing else said. And I was like, is he offside? When you want it to see it conclusively that he's offside. And then we never got it. And it was kind of...
Nah, it was a great strike, wasn't
What
it?
a goal. What a goal.
What an
Would have been.
impression he's
Would have
made
been.
on MLS and the few days he's been here. What an ambassador for the game of football,
Yeah.
and I'm so
For
glad
his
he's
country
here.
as well, I
And the
know.
last point I'll make, I never want to wear any other club's gear. I like to stay very impartial. That little zipper that he wore with Whitecaps FC, I gotta get my hands on one of them.
Oh,
So
that's
anybody for the Whitecaps is listening, send me one of them.
yeah,
I
it
don't know
was.
if I'll pull it off like Müller, but
You
he
can't
looked
wear
great.
it on this show because
No,
you've got
I
to be
know.
impartial.
Exactly.
And I will just say
Beautiful top.
this. I think everything went so well for the Whitecaps last week, the way they introduced Thomas Müller.
Yeah.
They're always at the very top of the clubs we deal with in terms
For
of
sure.
the media and everything
Yeah,
they do
I know.
around that.
Excellent.
They did an incredible job.
Well,
in-
we've got to
in
get him on the
whole
podcast soon. He's got
unveiling
to come on
Thomas
part of the
Müller.
bus at some point. And we'll
Hopefully.
chat to him about his career.
And it was great to see as well the video footage they had where, and we've talked about this in the past, of how it's not just Thomas Müller, what he'll do on the pitch, it's what he'll do for everybody else around him, including young Canadians. And we saw video footage that the Whitecaps put out of one of them, Ralph Priso, who had to give up his number for Thomas Müller. And Thomas Müller brought him a gift.
Yeah.
A gift from Germany, Lederhosen. And,
I hope there was a Rolex watch in there as well,
well,
by the
it's
way.
just a pair of pants.
No, I was disappointed that that's all that it was.
No, it's to get that from Thomas Müller.
For
and
a
then,
number, you want a watch as well.
Maybe. And then
I wouldn't, but anyway.
and then Ralph Priso wore them to the game
Yeah,
at the
that's
weekend as well.
brilliant.
So that was great to see. But well done to everyone involved with the Whitecaps for everything with Thomas Müller. And looking forward to calling his game this weekend. Probably a first start for the Whitecaps.
Hopefully, yeah.
This is the Park the Bus podcast with Stephen Caldwell, Kevin Kilbane, and Luke Wileman.
We've got a great guest today on Park the Bus. I'm not sure if they come any bigger than this in terms
Nope.
of Canadian players right now. Canada's all-time leading goal scorer. The print on this card is very small, so I'm going to try and get through some of the
Where'd you go?
resume.
Closer away.
Somebody's given this to me, obviously doesn't have problems with their eyes like I do. But he's a two-time Canadian Men's Player of the Year, 2019-2024. Scored Canada's first ever goal in Copa America. We had fun calling that one, didn't we?
Yes.
A Golden Boot winner at the Gold Cup, a Golden Boot winner in the Belgian League, scored over 100 goals for Lille, League earned champion in 2021, scored the winning goal at Parc des Princes on a sprained ankle against PSG. Not a bad resume
No,
so
long
far.
list.
There's more to come.
This is
Last season, scored Champions League goals against Liverpool, Dortmund, Atletico Madrid, Juventus, and Real Madrid.
Wow.
Now, Juve's new star striker, who's set to make his Serie A debut this weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, from Ottawa, Ontario, and live now from Juve's practice facility, we welcome in Canada's Jonathan David.
Yeah.
Hey, what an intro.
Hey,
Hello, Johnny. How are you?
I'm very good. How are you guys?
we're
Doing
good.
well.
And you've still got probably another 2/3 of your career to go, having achieved all that so far. It's not bad, is it?
Yes, it's gonna be a long career, so let's hope for many greater things.
How are you feeling? Have you settled in Turin? How's the city? How's the club?
Yeah, It's good. I think it's not too different from Lille, but I think the weather here is a lot hotter. Training sessions are intense. There's a lot of running, but yeah, so far it's been good.
Super. You don't mind running, do you? You're someone who enjoys getting around the field, so I'm sure you're enjoying it. You're settling in, and you got your goal at the weekend. How did that feel?
I felt good. I think always when you arrive at a new club as a striker, it's important to get off scoring, and I think just to score right before the first game of the season was perfect timing.
I joke with these guys because if they'd tried what you did at the weekend, I'm sure they would both have pulled a hamstring. But it certainly wasn't just a tap-in, was it?
That broke my neck.
To be fair, in this situation, in my head, that was the only thing I really could have done. So I just tried it, and if it goes in, goes in. If it doesn't, at least I tried.
Jonathan, you're saying there it's the same as Lille in some respects, but a lot more running. So what then are the expectations then for you across the course of this season? How are you feeling physically? How are you feeling mentally going into this big season for you now?
I'm mentally feeling good. I think I've adjusted pretty well to the team, to the staff, everyone around. And after, we haven't really spoken about goals for the season, but I think as a striker, the goal is always to perform for the team, whichever way that is to be, scoring goals, assisting, running, defending, anything really.
What are your personal goals then? Do you have any set targets in your head that you want to reach this season?
To be fair, I haven't thought of that yet. I've just been running around, training, getting settled in my new apartment and things like this. So I haven't really got time to just sit down and just think about these things really.
And if he has, he's not going to tell you.
Yeah,
and as a former
yeah.
player, seriously, if someone asked you what your goals were for the season...
It's different for strikers.
strikers
Strikers always
set
think,
goals.
like, I want to get 20 goals. I want to get to 20 goals and anything else is a bonus. That's what they always seem to say to me.
Do you normally set goals, Jonathan? Do you have like a target at the start of a season, or do you just see how it sort of develops?
I don't really know. I don't really set targets like that. For me, it's most, of course, every game I want to score. But I know that's not something that's really realistic, if you can say, to score every game. But my goal is to at least score in every game. And after that, you just see where you end up.
I mean, Jonathan, this was such a big summer for you in every aspect, I suppose, as well. But right from the first game, I think we covered the Ukraine game, didn't we, that was at BMO Field. You seemed very relaxed with everything that was going on and the crazy, atmosphere that was being built around you personally. How relaxing was it for you off the field, and what sort of conversations were you having with, whether it was Jesse Marsh or other clubs and your agent? How did that go across the summer for you?
Oh, very simple. I wasn't thinking too much about that. Obviously, I was in camp with the guys, enjoying my football, playing with the national team. So for me, I wasn't really too focused about where I'm gonna end up. Obviously, there was a lot of talks with maybe he gets injured and things like this. But for me, that never really crossed my mind. I was just there to be with the team, to enjoy my football. And after that, obviously, I would hear some things from my agent here and there, but it's not like it was always in the back of my mind.
That's incredible to me, because I'm the sort of person who needs to know what's
Cynical.
Knows what's happening, where I'm going, like in 1 year, 2 years, let alone in 2 or 3. I don't that focus and I mean, you seem as if you're a pretty relaxed guy anyway. So presumably that helps, whereas I'm completely the other way. No one would describe me as relaxed, but just to see what you achieved this summer with all of that backdrop, that single-minded focus, I presume is something that has been, why you're at this position anyway, why you've had success in your career.
Yeah, I think obviously it helps to be you can say as relaxed as I am, but I think it goes both ways. There's positive and there's negatives to that, but I just have to find the right balance to be able to exploit those.
Just in relation to that then, Jonathan, because I think in that Ukraine game that I spoke about, I said probably 95% of players in your position wouldn't have turned up for the national team. And understandably so. They would have had the conversation with the national coach. Look, I've got a lot going on. I need to concentrate on other things. Yet you decided with all that madness that was going on around you to play in that game and then obviously play in the Gold Cup as well without a contract, without the knowledge, the full knowledge of where you were going to sign. You went up in a lot of people's estimations, I think, just as a person, regardless of the player you are. Did it cross your mind at any stage to have that conversation to go, look, I can give this a miss and speak to Jesse Marsh and say, look, it might be best that I miss this summer?
No, that never crossed my mind. To be fair, I love to play football. And after, it's been a long time also that I haven't played in the Gold Cup. So for me, it was an opportunity to play again in the competition for Canada. And also, of course, 1 year before the World Cup, I know every game that you can get with the team is important. It will serve to something in the future. So for me, my mindset was always that everything I'm doing now is for the future.
What was the process like for you, Jonathan, in choosing Juventus, the different clubs that you maybe had options for? It kind of dragged on throughout the entire season, didn't it, guys? And we were speculating, everyone was, where you might end up going. When did Juventus become a real destination for you? And what was that, I guess, 6 months like and leading up to the last few days when you eventually signed the contract?
So it wasn't the whole season. I think during the season there was interest from a lot of different teams, but it's only towards the end of the season that it really gets serious, that obviously you see that some clubs stay, some clubs go in another direction. So obviously Juventus changed their direction at some point in the end of the season. So when that change arrived, we had a little breakdown in communication. But after that, they talked again to my agent and spoke about the project, what they want to build here, how they see me fitting into the team, and everything aligned with what I wanted to do.
Was Serie A a place that you wanted to play, or did you have any idea kind of what league you wanted to be in Europe, or was it always Serie A? Did you feel like that fitted your game best?
No, I think for me, it wasn't really too much about a league. I think obviously every league has its challenges, but I think I'm able to adapt to any league. So I wasn't thinking too much about leagues or maybe what league is better for my style of play. I was just thinking about the team. How can I adjust to that team and how I see myself fitting in with that team?
Obviously, you've achieved so much in your career already for both club and country, but was there a moment when you walked into Juventus and you thought, wow, with all the history of this club, you know, you see the logo, and you look good in the Juve gear, by the way. It suits you. It really suits you. But was there a moment where it really dawned on you that you're now at one of the giants of the global game, with everything that they've achieved and had go on in the past at that club?
I know. It's not that I've noticed, but when I knew that the deal was done, is when you have time and you say, like, you know, I'm a player of Juventus now. And obviously, you know, the history of the club, how massive this club is worldwide. So it's like, you know, you can quote unquote say, like, you know, I'm part of one of the biggest clubs in the world. You know, this is what you play football for.
When you were a boy growing up playing club soccer in Ottawa, was this dream something you had, or was it still at that point a little far off in terms of what you thought you might achieve?
When you're young, you just dream. You don't really think something or achievable until you really get close to realizing it. So for me, when I was young, it was just having fun playing. And if it happens, it happens. But I wasn't thinking too much about it. I only knew that this is what I wanted to do with my life. So I tried to give myself the possibilities to be here today.
Were you a Barca guy growing up? Is that correct? They were the team you liked to watch?
Yeah, I was a Barca fan when I was growing up, yeah.
what was it that attracted you? I mean, it's a silly question, right?
Yeah.
What did you like about Barcelona? But who were some of the players you enjoyed watching there when you were growing up?
I started more when Ronaldinho was there, even though I was very young. But I think when I really started growing up, it was with the Barca era that really started tiki-taka with Guardiola, with Messi, David Villa, Pedro, that team really. So I just enjoyed the way they played and the football they were producing. So, yeah.
I think we can see clearly, even when talking to you here, how relaxed you are. But do you feel the scrutiny that you're going to be under as a number 9 playing in that famous jersey? Do you feel that at all? Have you felt it from supporters since you've gone into Turin?
No, I wouldn't say from supporters too much, but I think when you come in right away, you know that this is a club that has a lot of pressure because you have to perform every weekend. You have to be the best. So I know that with that comes obviously scrutiny, and as a player, I just try to do what I can and what I can control. Other things I just try to not focus on.
Do you ever get stressed? Does your heartbeat ever go above 90 beats per minute? Because I've known you for a few years now. I've worked with you. I've never seen you stressed. I'm trying to think of an occasion where I thought Jonathan's a little out of sync here. What stresses you? Does anything stress Jonathan David?
No, of course. Of course, I get stressed, but I think I just hide it well. I think even sometimes when I'm stressed, people just don't realize it, but I know I am. So for me, that's something I like a lot about myself.
Should play poker. He'd be a good poker player, guys.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Knowing what you've said about your mentality, you're probably going to say, not thinking too far ahead. But how many times a day does it come into your mind that you're going to be starting for Canada at a World Cup on home soil in not too many months' time? That first game at BMO Field, the opportunity that is ahead at the end of this season for the national team, a very rare opportunity that not many players get in their career to play a home World Cup. Once a day, do you think about that?
To be honest, like the last maybe month or so, I haven't thought about it at all.
Oh, come on.
It's a very honest answer. Like I really haven't thought about that because I'm just focused here and try to get everything aligned for and ready for the beginning of the season. But I think it's something that every time you go back with the national team that crosses your mind, obviously because you're in that environment and you know the games you're playing is for that event. So when you get there, that's when you start thinking more about it. But other than that, I think it's just staying focused and going game by game. And obviously, for me personally, every time I train or every time I do something extra, it's never for the next game, but even for a bigger picture, that's you can see along the lines as the summer because that's what's coming up this year.
What will it mean to you when you're lining up next summer in Toronto for that opening game, Canada's opening game next summer?
I think we'll have shivers. I think playing at home, obviously, playing Toronto is always nice. I always enjoy it. But playing in Toronto in front of my family and friends, in the biggest stage of them all, I think there's nothing that can beat that, really.
Your careers went to the greatest heights, Jonathan. You've sort of grew up in the Canadian programme as obviously a young player and become more and more established. Now you're one of the leaders. Do you feel that sense of responsibility, and have you kind of grown into that role more as the years have went on?
Yeah, I think so. I think when I started with the national team, obviously I started at 18. So a lot of the guys were older than me, already leaders in that team. So I just tried to do my thing, learn a little bit of things from them. But I think when Jesse came to the team, obviously with Fonzie being captain and Steph, I think he's giving roles to younger guys. And I think he's wanted to give me a role of leadership on the team too. And I think so I've tried to work, obviously, on my leadership skills. Obviously, the team's also got a bit younger. I'm not considered one of the young guys anymore. So obviously, I know that I have a part of responsibility to the team and to the guys. So I try to be up to the standard.
You were the most high-profile and certainly the most experienced player across this summer, Jonathan, with the side at the Gold Cup. And when you reflect across the summer and the way it went for you, how do you feel the summer went for you personally and the team itself?
I think for me, I always align myself with the team. I think obviously we're all disappointed of how the tournament finished, how we went out. So yeah, so after that, I think it was a time for everyone to reflect, not only myself, but I think everyone on the team, to see what went wrong, what we could have done better, so that when this opportunity comes again, that we don't make the same mistakes.
In your opinion, what went wrong, Jonathan? What sort of happened in that Guatemala game? Obviously the red card, but what else happened that meant that Canada went out at a stage of the competition that nobody expected? And what can you do personally and the team do to make sure that hopefully that doesn't happen again?
Yeah, I think maybe we were a bit naive to think even at 10 against 11, we'll still go out and press, we'll get the ball, we'll play, we'll score another goal and finish the game there. Obviously, I think Guatemala gave us a lot of problems. And I think maybe what we should have done is maybe stay even deeper and force them to cross the ball even more and to not be able to play in and between us, because obviously I think we had the height advantage on them. So I think crossing wouldn't really be an issue if we have the numbers in the box. So I think that was maybe one of the regrets that I think we can have. And personally for myself, I think just to try to recognize that if things are not going well on the pitch, that to be vocal enough to see it and to change the situation.
What changed most for you as the captain? As a captain of a team, having to take on that responsibility, put the armband on, did it change the way you approached games in any way? Or was it more off the field, the influence that you were having that was different to normal?
No, I think the only thing that changed really for me was just speaking before the games. Other than that, I just stayed myself.
How did you feel about talking in front of the group like that?
Did you practice before the speeches?
No, I never practiced, but I always had an idea of what I would say before the games, but never practiced. I think I've had a little bit of experience captaining sometimes in Lille, so it wasn't something completely new to me. But yeah, that's the only thing that really changed in my approach.
Do you reflect on the impact you have, Jonathan, for young Canadian players? You've been a young lad growing up in Ottawa and going on a European journey, and you think about the backdrop, what we're looking at now, an iconic club like Juventus, the first Canadian to play for Juventus, the impact you've had with the national team and what that's going to mean next summer. Do you think about what that will do for the game in Canada, the grassroots game, and the millions of individuals who will be inspired by you and your colleagues as you take the field at BMO Field June 12th next year?
I only think about that when I go back home, because obviously here it's hard to notice any difference really. But it's when you go back home and you see, even when I'm just in Ottawa for summer break, when you see the kids come up to you and look up to you, that's when you realize that you made an impact in the game and kids are starting to appreciate what you've done and starting to play more because they see that it's possible to get out of Ottawa and to become professional and make your dreams come true. So to that impact, I see what I've done, but only when I'm really in Canada. When I'm here, it's hard to really notice what you really do.
What's your expectations for the World Cup, and what should Canadians expect next summer, Jonathan?
My expectations it's tough to put expectations myself because obviously it's a team game. So I think we'll have to sit all down together and speak openly on what we want to do, what we want to achieve, and try to do our best to achieve that.
What can you achieve? What do you think can be achieved?
Can be achieved, I think, obviously, to get out the group. That would be I think, a good start. And after that, just to try to go as far as possible in the tournament. Because obviously, after that, it's a one-off game. There's no second leg, nothing like this, so anything can happen.
Have you learned any Italian yet? You got any lines or any words for us? Come on. You must have some mannerisms.
I just learned a couple of things through listening to what people are saying and learning through Duolingo. But it's really just the simple things, you know, saying like hi, how are you, bye. But this is, I think, this is things even if you know this is your first time coming to Italy, you can know.
And how have your teammates been? Have they integrated you in? Are you feeling very comfortable in the locker room and in the meal rooms?
Yeah, I think very good. I think, you know, a bunch of good guys that are just here to work and want what's best for the team. And yeah, they welcome me with open arms. Everyone's very helpful if I need anything. So far with that, everything's been very well.
Have you had any time to explore yet in the city? Got your favorite hangouts? No?
No, not yet. The only time I've really been out in the city was the day after I signed. But other than that, I really haven't had the time to even go look around. The only places I've been is basically my house and the grocery store.
We really appreciate you taking the time to be with us here today, and we wish you nothing but the best for the season. And these guys know I've got 3 boys. They all play soccer, and when you talk about the impact having on Canadian kids, they look up to you. They talk about you. They watch your games. It's not an understatement to say that you are a focal point for kids across this country. There are focal points on both the men's and the women's national teams who are leading the way at home and abroad for club and for country. So just keep doing what you're doing and making everybody proud over there. Have a great season. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck. All the best.
Good luck, Jonathan.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Well, not bad, is it, to be sitting there at Juventus and I just don't understand how someone can be so relaxed and calm, and that's why I'm not and never have been an athlete, right? At the age of 10, I knew I was only going to be able to talk about the game, right? I knew I wasn't going to be good enough.
You're not bad at that. You're not bad at that.
Wasn't going to be good enough to play the game, but that's probably what an elite level performer has to have, isn't it?
And I think it's learned a little bit from going through the youth structure, you know, from U10s or whatever, right up, you kind of learn, because the one thing that a player doesn't realise when you're a young boy, you're always on trial. No matter what you think, you're on trial. Your life is on trial. Now, wherever you go in your career and whatever you're going to do, if you think about that too much, you can go crazy, can't you? Particularly at a young age. So I think that once you step up through the levels, you've gone through the next level, you get to the next phase of your career, I think it helps you to relax a little bit. And sometimes players step up to the top level like he's at right now, and it can be daunting. And you can actually think, you know, if you overthink it too much, I think that's when you start to fall away. So you've got to try and get that balance of, you know, being as professional as you can, working on your own game, both the technical aspects as well as maybe video footage and watching yourself back. But I think if you overthink it too much, Stevie, I don't know how you feel. If you think about it too much, I think that you can get yourself in knots almost, and you can really start to dwindle. And I think that certainly affected me when I had to move into the Premier League. I think it was almost too much for me to start with because I thought about it too much rather than just actually playing my natural game.
Yeah, you sort of think about it too much and you try and be something that you're not, don't you? You try and become this type of personality that you think you have to fit into in whatever environment. And what I love about that man there is he is always like that. I promise you guys, whether it's in the privacy of a hotel or a locker room, or that's who he is. He's not putting on a facade there to sort of do an interview for us. He is always that measured and calm and analytical thinker, and that's the player that we see on the field, isn't it? It's exactly that sort of like calm and composing figure that is out there on the field, and I think his teammates get a lot of strength from that. I think it's his quiet confidence that makes him the player that he is, and I'm glad that he's sort of staying authentic to himself, because it would be easy to go to Juventus and think he's going to be more or more exuberant or more vocal or sort of this different type of leader. He's got to stay the way that he is, because I do believe as he matures more and more of him will kind of come through in a Canada shirt or a UV shirt, you know.
You don't get the nickname the Iceman.
He really is Iceman,
It's a perfect nickname for him. But when you talk about leadership, he was the captain this summer. Of course, there was no Alphonso Davies. We've seen Stefan Eustáquio as a vice captain as well, as captained this country. Obviously, going in the footpath of someone like Atiba Hutchinson. Who's the main leader on this team right now?
What a question.
Or maybe not right now, but could Jonathan David be that guy come the World Cup?
Yeah, absolutely. He could be that guy. He is an inspiration to these players. I think he's very comfortable in his own personality, in his own skin. He's someone who, like I said, is authentic to himself and what he does. The game has changed, Kev, hasn't it? You know, there was some comments at the weekend, not to go off on a tangent, but Tony Adams was criticising Martin Odegaard as a captain, and Arteta's came out to say he is our captain. He was voted in unanimously as our captain. So leaders in this day and age are different from when we played. And I think when I look at Jonathan, he's someone that resonates as a leader. He does everything right on and off the field. He loves football. He loves playing for his country. And he's someone that inspires others. So for me, he could be a leader.
Because I think that leadership, he went up in terms of being a leader because of his actions in playing.
This summer, I said it to him there, and I think we commented on it so often that 95% of players would not have turned up for Canada last summer. And I don't think Jesse Marsch, disappointed, yes, he probably would have been, but he would have understood the decision that he would have made. So for him to turn up and play virtually every minute. If you remember the game against Guatemala where he's running down the line and he's almost pulling his hamstring. And we were all kind of like, we were gasping when we were watching. You guys were calling it.
Gave everything to the game, didn't he?
But in terms of that leadership role then, do you think there's potential? And it's a bit of a leading question, this, I know that, but you know how I feel about the captain situation anyway. Do you think there's potential that armband is taken off Alphonso Davies? No. Why?
Because Alphonso Davies is the captain. And I don't think you make a change. Jesse Marsch has made that decision for a reason within the last 12 months. I think he's not going to change 10 months from a World Cup.
I think it would be too controversial if he now, after saying Davies, takes it off him.
Correct, I agree with that. The decision I felt, and I've said this constantly, I felt was wrong in the first place to give him the captaincy for a number of reasons, not just in terms of leadership and his ability to grow and things like that, because that's going to come anyway naturally, and Jesse Marsch has spoke of this. But I feel that there were more suitable candidates in the position to go and take the captaincy. So I just think, just relating back to this summer and him turning up to play, it says a lot about him, because I've played with Canadian internationals, as you guys know. I have seen the guys outwardly saying in the locker room, whatever club I was at, I'm not getting on that plane to go back and play for Canada. There's no chance.
It was hassle.
I don't want to play. I don't want to play. And
Very
I remember,
different times now.
No, correct.
Heading into a home World Cup.
Absolutely true. But it still doesn't take away the fact is that when you're playing in such a high-intensity environment like Jonathan David is right now, and various players that I would have had at my club, that Canadian internationals that didn't want to turn up. And I spoke to Julian de Guzman about this a lot, about the players not turn up. And they used to get annoyed when players didn't turn up. Now, he's turned up and he has really put himself above all others, really, to play this summer, given his situation. It puts him in so much of a great standing, I think, with supporters, but also within that group and the players looking up to him.
Yeah, I think there was three people that Jesse Marsch would have looked at when he was deciding the captaincy. Alphonso Davies, Jonathan David and Stefan Eustáquio. And I think what he probably did was figure that what player might gain the most from being captain, what player might bring a little bit more to his game. And his decision at that point was Alphonso Davies. Could he bring out more in Davies by giving him the armband? Because knowing that Stefan Eustáquio is going to be himself, he's still going to lead in his way. Jonathan's a little bit quieter than Steph, although Steph's not exactly a vocal leader either. But they both sort of epitomise professionalism and high standards, let's call it. And in Alphonso Davies, I think the reason to give him the armband was, can he do a bit more? Can he be a little bit more mature, you know, as he grows up within the game? And I don't see him changing from that, Kev. But I hear what you're saying, because when you look at it, in my mind, between the three players, he is clearly third on that list. I think it's a very close battle for first. My opinion is Stefan Eustáquio should be the captain
Yeah,
of Canada.
I felt that at the time.
But Johnny's right behind him.
Yeah.
But there's no real reason to change it now.
No.
Unless Alphonso Davies is not fit and cannot play in the World Cup. I don't
It
think
would be
having
too
made the decision...
controversial.
Too controversial,
You don't-
too big a
and
statement.
like
I
you
get
said,
it.
And it brings too much scrutiny.
Yes.
Stefan Eustáquio and Jonathan David are going to lead
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't think at this point you have to make that call if you're
Yeah,
Jesse Marsh.
I kind of agree with what I do agree with what you're saying. It's maybe just going back to the original decision
Alistair
again.
Johnston as well? Could he
Alistair
be
Johnston,
in the
absolutely,
conversation?
absolutely.
No, I don't think so. For me, the three guys are ahead of Johnson.
Yeah, but
still
I
at the
think
minute.
he's
One day,
certainly I
potentially.
think he's certainly someone that gives up his time. You know, I think he speaks great. I
Yeah.
think he's prepared to actually go and answer the difficult questions after the game for the team and behalf of the team and the manager and everything like this. And I think that is, particularly in a World Cup year, I think your captain has got to be a little bit more vocal. I think they've got to be prepared to give themselves up a little bit more because of what's at stake this year. And I think that it'll be interesting come Christmas time and beyond how Alphonso Davies is going to react to that responsibility.
Yeah.
That especially this year or this.
Yeah, I've got a question for you, Kev, because you've played more international games than any of us. Is an international captain different from a club captain? Is it more ceremonial? Is it more your sort of stature within the country? And is it often the best player?
Yes, it's probably true to say it's often your best player, but also I think certainly from our point of view, I say majority of the time I would have been playing for Ireland, it would have been probably Robbie Keane. Now, Robbie Keane, when he was originally made captain, you wouldn't have thought that he would have been, you know, the vocal captain, the player that's going to give a lot of his time up. But Robbie became such a leader. He really grew into that role. And I saw that quickly with Robbie and how he adjusted. And we'd gone from having probably Roy Keane before that, who was the captain of all captains, probably the best ever captain in Premier League history, I think you'd say that. But we'd gone from that to Robbie, and it was different. It was different, but I think that he grew into a role that I really saw real leadership from him and real change of character and not just on the field. I'm talking about off it. I'm talking about how he was able to conduct meetings and how he was able to get the group together. I think that's the most important thing. But also that you've got to give a bit up. So you're asking the question, is it different? I don't think it is different in that respect, Stevie, because I think that you've got to be a bit more giving. You've got to be a little bit more welcoming and opening, I think, really, as captain.
But as an international captain, that's once every couple of months.
Yeah.
Right? As a club captain, which you were, every single day, how much extra did you have to give as a club captain, and in what ways? On a daily basis?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. You really have to sacrifice many individual things if you want to be a club captain, because my responsibility, what I felt was my responsibility, was for the greater good of 20-something players every single day. And it's a hard thing.
You took that seriously.
I really took that seriously. And you'll never hear me blow my trumpet about myself as a player, but I was a very good captain.
Yeah,
guys,
well, Stevie, I'm not saying
He's a very good player.
Everyone. Yeah, you were a very good player. No, you were a very good player. Don't underestimate that. But I spoke to a lot of guys around you. I knew a lot of Burnley lads and ex-teammates that would have played alongside you that said that to me. So I knew before you and I even really met what type of captain you were and what sort of person you were by the things that were being said to me. So in saying what you're saying there, you knew you were a good captain, but that has been relayed to me countless times about the captain that you were.
Yeah, and it was sort of like the responsibility that I took on, because I wanted to make sure that everybody in that changing room felt like I had their best interests at heart. And that is such a difficult thing to do, because of course you can't always have everybody's best interests at heart. So you gotta manage it, you gotta balance it, you have to sort of take the temperature of the room and understand what the group wants, and then you got to put an arm around the guy at times and say, sorry, this is not your time, you're going to get the wrong end of the stick here on this deal, but next time I'll have you in mind. And so it's easy with the guys that you connect with as well. You know, it's very natural with the guys you want to have lunch with, the guys you want to have nights out with. It's very easy. The guys that are like you, it's the ones that are not like you that you have to realise are just as important as your mates in that locker room. And I felt a great responsibility in that. And I'd like to think that the guys that maybe I never had such a close relationship with would also say that I was an excellent captain, because I was there for them. I was battling their corner whenever I could, whether it was with the manager and the staff or with the chairman, the board of directors.
How did you find that? We spoke a little bit around, Luke mentioned to us a couple of weeks about not necessarily backing down with managers.
Yeah.
Couldn't see us that. How did you find to be that go-between between the group and the manager and the coaching staff? How did you go with that?
Well, I learned on the job. I learned more as I became experienced. There's times where you hear things in a manager's room that you can't relate to the changing room, and there's times where you hear things in the changing room you can't relate to the manager. And what you always have to remember is that you are the spokesperson for the group of players that are in that locker room. You're the one that has to have their best interests at heart, the consensus of the group. And so sometimes that means falling out with the manager. Sometimes that means having difficult conversations with a chief executive. And sometimes it means going into the changing room and says, guys, this is not our battle to win. We're conceding here because this is the right thing to do, and we're going to win in a later, issue or whatever. And so I think I did really well at kind of understanding that. I did really well at sort of being that mediator, let's call it, between a group of players and a club, and often I got it right. And I feel like the players that were under me trusted me. That is the biggest thing.
What was the trickiest incident that you would have had? Anything that jumps out?
As a quick example, bonuses is always a tricky one.
Yeah. Usually they're always getting sorted the day before the season starts or a couple of days.
Yeah.
You know, a lot because the clubs let it drag through pre-season, which is bizarre. And
just a quick one on bonuses for those that don't understand. Bonuses for Premier League, as an example, have to be decided before the first game kicks off.
Of the season, yeah.
Otherwise, you go in the bonus schedule of the season before. So if the season before is poor, you want to improve that. I've been there on a Friday afternoon, look, before the first game of the season, when you shouldn't be, should be home resting, battling in a boardroom for, an extra whatever dollars, pounds.
And a lot of the time, it's the younger players, Stevie, as well, that's going to get the benefit of that bonus.
And the guys are sitting there in the room, they want to go home as well, but they've got to wait because everyone's got to sign the schedule, and you're battling away and you're trying to get what's best for the group. So bonuses was always a contentious one, and you have to read the situation. The guys, as you know, Kev, the guys ask for, here, and the club says here, and you got to understand, where can we meet in the middle? What is the number? So negotiation skills are really high. And again, as I said before, individually, you just want to go home and rest and eat right and sleep and worry about that game tomorrow. But you got to go into this business battle before an important match. It's difficult.
Did it ever affect your game, being captain? Do you think, is there a game you look back on and think, I was so, not obsessed, but like I was so much thinking about everybody else and the captaincy that maybe I didn't perform as well that day on my individually because of everything else that was going on?
Good question. I think often it brought out more in my game. Right. I think it gave me more sort of confidence, more sense of worth, let's call it. I knew that was an important role in my team. Make my teammates play better and lead them through the game and make tough decisions for them within the course of a game.
It does drain you, though, doesn't it?
It does.
That thing does drain you,
It's tough.
And I'm sure part of the role of the captain was sorting out match day tickets for everybody.
Tickets was another stressful one.
But that's something that he still does now. We'll get to BMO Field on a game day, and he'll open his little black book, right? Every week, opens his black book. An hour and a half before kickoff. I got to find 22 tickets. There's people waiting outside. Why don't you just say no? Oh, I can't say no to it. If you ever want any tickets.
And TFC are great because they let me go pitch side. I take 5-6 people that are at the game, and I'm doing tours.
We're on in 10 minutes. Where's Stevie? Oh, he's just down giving a tour to 15 people at the weekend. I turn around in the booth. We're about 30 seconds from going on. Stevie's at the back of the booth with 10 Scottish people.
The ultimate club ambassador. That's what you are.
There's never a guy that needed a ticket in my squad that never got one. I always made sure, I'm talking about playoff finals, Man United at home in a Premier League game. They always got a ticket.
It was the worst thing. I was club captain to do that. I wasn't the official captain. I had to do tickets, and it used to do me head in every Friday, day before a game.
I can't imagine you being organised.
No, I wasn't organised enough to do it. It's right.
You know what we should do? We should, not today, but we'll work out a way to have a first ever Park the Bus prize winner.
Yeah.
And the prize can be a tour with Stephen Caldwell.
Oh, yes, yes.
And
Game of Field
you know,
tour.
the best thing is the panic in the producers when they say, we're on in 2 minutes, where's Stevie? And usually it's we're on in 2 minutes, where's Luke? He's eating chicken fingers next door. But with Stevie, it's like, I can see him on the pitch and he's still giving a tour.
Yeah, and he gets up there 10 seconds before he gets on there. Yeah.
Sweating, put my tie on.
So the
summer.
captain is still in there with his tours and his tickets.
But also as well,
I
I think we always feel the game has moved on.
Yeah.
And the captain's responsibility, or the captain is slightly insignificant, and it's not. It's not the way. And,
Still important.
And I think, and just going back to Jonathan David or Alphonso Davies and the importance of him in this year, it's a huge year for him personally, and how he can take the Canadian soccer programme to that World Cup. It's a huge year for him, it really is.
Yeah. Okay, so last week we introduced fan feedback because it was episode 10. I quite enjoyed that.
Yeah, well, I got criticised a lot, but okay.
Did you?
That's why
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
By you as well.
You're taking things too personally. That's what it is now, honestly.
You deserve it, though,
Yeah, true.
right? So if you're getting the criticism you
If you
deserve,
say
then
something
that's
crazy, you deserve to be criticised.
100%. So we've got some more fan feedback this week.
What do you
but
class as crazy? You just got to say what you feel.
Can you see that? Because it's a bit small for me.
Yeah, I can.
What's the top one say?
Context.
I want you to read that to me.
Okay, Luke needs to be more often. He's bossing Stevie with his...
He often bosses me.
This is what it says here. Luke needs to be more often. Does that make sense?
Yeah, on more often, I guess.
On more often,
Yeah.
yeah. His bossing Stevie with his comments is hilarious.
There you go.
You've always bossed me.
Hey?
Yeah. Can
Well,
not read it?
clearly you can't see it. So
No,
I'll give
I
it-
have to be holding
I would
it
have
too
brought my
far.
glasses
I'd
today.
have to be holding it too
Stephen,
far.
what are you saying? Juventus is one of the biggest clubs in the world. It's not about how good they are.
It is about how good they are, surely. They are a great club.
Okay.
One of the best, yeah.
Remember last week we had that list of Canadians in Europe with most at stake this season?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
The Matthew Scianetti's list. So we had a couple of comments on that one because obviously we gave Matthew a little bit of feedback from ourselves.
Constructive feedback.
Constructive feedback about his list. So
Yeah.
this one says, yeah, you boys fumbled this. Scianetti's list is Canadians playing in Europe with the most at stake in their club season, which checks out. David's legacy, he was number one, remember? Jonathan
Yes.
David on Matthew's list of most at stake this season.
Yeah.
David's legacy will be defined by this move to Juve. Either he's a world-class striker that can play with the best, or he flounders and he's just a decent second-rate striker who plays well at smaller clubs.
But I still don't know how we're going to define. Well, yeah.
Okay, anyway.
Yeah.
And this one, at John T9, Scianetti doesn't really know what he's talking about compared to Kilbane and Caldwell. Right? So we're getting closer to...
Controversial.
We're getting closer to...
That was my burner account.
No, yeah. I think the burner account... Well, I was going to say that one before must have been a burner account, but
Yeah.
we had this actual tweet from at TSN Scianetti. These boys with some kind of... It's black and white, so I don't know if it's
Laughing
crying,
emoji.
laughing, or red angry.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Some form.
Canada's World Cup chances will be influenced by what top 5 guys achieve this season. If Promise, Buchanan, Kone, Bambito, and David have great seasons, chances undeniably rise. Call me sometime and we'll have it out.
Right.
Sounds like that's Matthew Scianetti's music, actually.
Is that CFL?
That's his CFL music. That's his ringtone.
CFL's Matthew Scianetti.
Call me and we'll have it out. So here he is.
Here we go. Boys,
Okay.
How you doing?
Hi, Matthew.
you know what we should get our director Dennis to put picture-in-picture from our text chat from last week, Stevie and Kev, where I was trying to make the argument to Stevie. He was having none of it, and I'm pretty sure Kev was telling me off in Irish. So,
And you know what, Matthew? I think when you have that background there as well, I think that comes off, doesn't it? The Man United shirt gets put somewhere else, and then you put the CFL jersey on when you're doing something. Is that how it works?
no, you know what? That goes up there as a reminder to me of happier times.
The good
Kev.
times. All right, I've got
Nice shot.
Yes, not when we're celebrating 1-0 losses to Arsenal. That's
immediately
that's what
his credibility goes down because of being a Man United fan, right? So
Yeah.
that's the starting point.
Luke, I can't hear you over the fact that, what is it, Sheffield at the bottom of the championship right now?
It's been a bad start to the
Sheffield
season,
United are getting pumped.
but things will improve. That's what they keep telling us.
What we need from Matthew is just clarify what this list was about, because I don't think any of us read your article. So we need to know.
Sorry, Stevie?
None of us read your article. We just saw the headline.
So what's the argument about if you
We
didn't read my
heard
article?
that Canadians
With most
at stake. And
Heading
we
to the
felt
World
like
Cup.
some of the names you had on there were totally off. So are you changing the name of your list? Or?
And to be fair, we did give you credit for getting 7 out of the 10
Yeah.
right. Which isn't a bad, 70% is not a bad mark.
Just 1, 2, and 3.
You know what,
just a
boys?
problem.
You're doing a wonderful job of backtracking right now, so I really appreciate that.
Oh, it's not
But,
backtracking. You
Clay-
changed the name of your list. Canadians with most at
But-
stake to...
But
Go on. You
But
explain.
I'm not going to change it, because the fact of the matter is this: the way we're going to see the next 12 months is very much in two different perspectives when it comes to this team. Stevie, you got your race for the roster list, which is pretty much as significant as any list could be, because those are the guys who are potentially going to be, or perhaps in your mind should be, on Canada's World Cup squad. What's at stake for these guys, and why that list, in my view, should be influential in terms of how we look at the next 10, 11 months, is because this isn't just Canada appearing at the World Cup. And I'm going to be speaking past you guys to the audience here. I know we romanticize what next summer is going to be in terms of how far we think Canada can go at a home World Cup. Canada is still a nation in the men's game, in the men's tournament, that hasn't had a result at the men's World Cup. And when I look at what's at stake, it's what's at stake to make sure that Canada is best prepared for home World Cup, and especially those top 5 guys, and particularly Jonathan David, given his role. Now, I know, Kev, I think your opinion came down to it really wouldn't matter whether or not Jonathan David scores. He would still be a significant part of the team. Sure, but if he has an outstanding season at Juventus, yes, Canada's chances at the World Cup change. If Ismail Kone, and Luke, you were dead on, very erratic, but if he finds some kind of consistency that then reveals itself with the men's national team, Canada's chances at the World Cup change. I mean, you guys know I've been on Tejan Buchanan's bandwagon for a long time. If he's at a point with Villarreal where he is playing consistently confident, the way that we saw him playing at Club Brugge and the New England Revolution, Canada's chances at the World Cup change. The same goes for, Derek Cornelius might have been at 10. But if he goes, I see that as a 50-50 chance that he's starting, because right now it's Luc de Fougerolles. That's why he's higher on the list. He has more at stake right now, because when I spoke to Jesse a few weeks ago, he was saying that's a big battle for me as well. So when I look at that list, every single guy has something at stake, because it's not just getting on the team. Stevie, that's your department. It's what these guys need to do to make sure they're playing at their best, so that Canada has the best chances next summer.
I just think that when David's at number 1, I don't see what he's got at stake when he's playing with a different team. I understand it's an important season for him individually, but there's nothing at stake, because we just talked about him potentially being the captain. He's definitely going to start, and he's likely going to play every single minute. So whether he scores 5 goals for Juventus or 30 goals for Juventus, there's nothing at stake with his appearance for Canada in red next summer.
But Matthews, here's where I think the breakdown in communication has come, right?
His article.
Because we were told the list was Canadian players in Europe with most at stake this season.
Yes.
Right? So we're taking that as individual Canadian players with most at stake this season, which is the players that have got to try and get on a World Cup squad.
Yes.
It sounds like Matthew has now changed the title of the article to being... Yeah, because we only read the title, right? So, well, for a start...
Not many read beyond the headline.
Let's back up a sec. This text chat, by the way, that had the article in with... that you guys had it ahead of time and didn't read it. I didn't have it ahead of time. So I didn't know anything about this.
So you're
Otherwise,
okay.
I
He's
read
okay.
everything.
But it's our
Exactly.
fault. Yeah.
I'm throwing you guys under the bus now. We've parked the bus.
Very
You
good.
guys are under it. Because I read every word Matthew writes, whether it's on Twitter, on articles, right?
What was his latest article?
It was about the Toronto Argonauts and their running back.
Oh, CFL.
Yeah. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Anyway, no, but the list makes more sense if it's for Canada to be successful at the World Cup.
Yeah.
Which of these players need to have good seasons in Europe?
Yeah, it does. It does.
If
That
we're
And in that case, actually, if that's by the way,
of an argument.
By the way, you're welcome, Matthew. I've changed the title of your article to actually make sure that the list makes sense, because then Jonathan David could be number one.
Yes.
Which Canadians need to be most informed next summer for Canada to have success at the World Cup? Right. Number one, Jonathan David. Well done. You got it.
I still disagree.
Oh,
Alphonso Davies. Alphonso Davies.
But Stevie, okay. So what I will concede is this: had I seen that photo of what looks like an atrophied right quad, just before I put that out, he'd probably be higher, because he has a lot to do over the next 6-7 months to get back to what I said in the piece is his natural state, playing fast and playing at high technical quality at a very fast pace. But what more is he going to show me at Bayern Munich that he hasn't already showed me? Perhaps he needs we've talked about this sense of consistency with all of the talents that he has, playing more consistently. But what's he going to do? Play in the Champions League again and tear apart Chelsea, although I'd love to see him do that. Tear apart Barcelona, although I'd love to see him do that. Go ahead and score an amazing goal against Real Madrid. We know what he can do at that level. With Jonathan David, we don't know yet. We don't know what he can do at the Serie A level, irrespective of everyone's comments about Juventus and what's happened with that club over the last 5 years. And quite frankly, the way that he's played for Canada, who else is going to score goals right now? And I'm sure we'll talk about, the potential move of Tanny going to Villarreal and certainly what Promise David can do coming off the bench for Union Saint-Gilloise. But right now, the guy scoring goals is Jonathan David. And when he goes to a club like Juventus in a league like Serie A, irrespective of people's overall opinion of it, it is still a level up from what he did at Lille. The expectations of that club, and also what that club is looking to achieve with Jonathan David as its starting striker. So if he can go ahead and raise his level under those demands, absolutely it changes Canada's chances.
Okay, well, I would think, Matthew's given a good, impassioned response there.
Yeah, respect.
I think much of the content, including the numbers of the order, makes a bit more sense. If only the title had been right in the first place, then we probably wouldn't have had this discussion in the first place.
You're questioning his journalistic abilities.
Oh, okay, all right.
Okay, but no, talking of journalist abilities, there are some questions, actual proper questions that we've got to ask the TSN Sports Centre Canadian men's national team reporter. Is that the right order? Have we got all that in? TSN Sports Centre, TSN Canadian men's
and
national
CFL
team
expert.
Reporter, CFL expert.
Many hats, this guy. He's got many hats.
You talk about who's going to score goals next summer. Cyle Larin may or may not. May or may not still be at his current club, Mallorca. You've reported this week that he's looking for a way out. Where do you see the situation with Cyle Larin right now from your conversations you've had with people?
Yeah, doesn't have a resolution yet, and Larin wants a resolution, because this goes back to conversations I'd had in passing with him at the Gold Cup. Not that at that time he was saying he wanted to leave Mallorca, but he wasn't all that pleased with the situation there in terms of just like where he felt he was relative to where the club was. But over the last few weeks, certainly hearing that he's wanted to move out, and when you see that he's not a part of a match day squad, given certainly what Mallorca brought him in for a few years ago at an $11 million deal, you'd think that if he is still in their plans, he's going to start the season, especially against Barcelona. He didn't. And even though his agent isn't commenting on it, many of those guys around him are saying that he wants out and that he's not going to play until he gets to move out. So this is one of those interesting, I guess you could call it a standoff. He's still under contract with Mallorca. He's still under contract for a few more seasons. Is it a loan? Is it a full transfer? Right now, he wants to go, and Mallorca's telling him to sit. We'll have to see how this one plays out. But as much as I know right now, a move out, a loan out isn't close, but Kyle's mind is out the door.
Not a good situation, is it?
No, it's
right
a
now.
bad
I'm
situation.
just thinking there, I didn't understand it to be that. I thought Mallorca were trying to push him out, but according to Matthew, it's more of a kind of Lisa and Isaac thing where he doesn't want to play.
Well, I wanted to actually speak to Jonathan David about this one, really, about how strikers are actually manipulating moves. It's a different situation that he was in, but this Isak thing, this is not going away. Apparently deleted his social media accounts as well, or deleted Newcastle off his social media accounts, Davey. So, again, that's going to be another interesting issue going forward. But no, just going back to Larin here then, yes. So, Larin's situation. First of all, Matthew, can I just ask you, what would it take if there was a permanent transfer to get him out? What do Mallorca want for him?
They want to be made whole, and that'll the $11 million that
so they want the
spent
the
on
feedback,
Real Valladolid. Yeah, I mean, but that is not the. I mean, we've seen this with a few Canadians, right? The loan out with the potential buy on or sell on, and that is the situation that at least presents itself with Kyle because of the amount of money that Mallorca spent on him. But you're right; it puts him in a sticky situation because if there is no resolution and he just sits, well, then everything for him that's at stake just ratchets up, and he might be in a situation not dissimilar to Isaac, where he has to go back to his club and be like, okay, how are we going to figure this out? I mean, he's taken a very bold stand, and that very bold stand is because he sees how the striker depth chart is going. He sees Tani Oluwaseyi up here. He sees Daniel Jebison and Promise David kind of fighting it out. And although Jesse Marsch extols Cyle Larin's talents and talks about his experience and talks about how he works within Jesse Marsch's system, if he's not playing, he's of no value to anyone.
Is that Matthew? Is that solely in his mind then, the Canadian issue, or is the
yes.
or is that genuinely? Yeah, okay. In my head, I was just thinking he's just desperate for a move to play football from a personal point of view, and that's it.
Does he have the stature to do that though? Is he a guy that can dictate like an Isaac when he's not being a certain starter at his club? It seems like a very bold stance to take.
Very bold.
Yeah, because if he doesn't get the move, as he goes back, if he has to go back to Mallorca, are they going to look at that in a positive light? Is he then going to be sitting on the sidelines for months until January comes, where he might be able to get a move again? It's very risky.
Yeah, he better not be. I mean, because if he is, that I don't know how if that happens and he's got to go back hat in hand to Mallorca and try to go ahead and figure it out, and he wasn't playing all that regularly at the end of the season. I mean, he only started 9 of the 18 games that he was available for and only scored 2 goals. Cyle Larin needs to play, and Cyle Larin is aware of that. And if he's not playing, I don't know if come January, knowing how far in advance Jesse Marsch wants to kind of shape all of the plans for his squad. I'm not saying that Kyle would be so far out that he wouldn't be able to influence the situation and try to get back to be Jonathan David's strike partner, but it puts himself really behind the 8 ball. So it's, and this is the risk that you guys know this better than I do. You run the risk as a player when you say you want to leave, because now it is a game of chicken, because clubs may not feel the imperative to either transfer you or loan you out if they're not getting the money they want. And if your representation and those around you can't find a move that works, that fits both the player and the club, then you're going to potentially sit. And Cyle Larin just can't sit.
Sounds like he's got a lot at stake, Matthew. You should. That's maybe a good idea for a list.
Matthew, is there? Yeah. Just title it right this time, please. Yeah. Matthew, is there teams ready to spend 11 million on him? Like, is there some teams that are close?
Well, that's the question.
Yeah,
that's the question. I mean, the one thing I had heard was that there were established teams in La Liga that were interested in him. And then when you think of established teams in La Liga, it's certainly, there's Barcelona, Real Madrid, with the greatest amount of respect to Cyle Larin. Those are not the teams that I were hearing were interested in him. But then you're looking at certainly, Villarreal, Valencia, talking about those perhaps second-tier teams. Either way, it's going to have to be a deal that is interesting enough for them, because Cyle Larin's not coming as a guy who's scoring a boatload of goals. He scored 22, 23 goals over the last couple of seasons. I know you guys talked about this a few weeks ago, and that is significant. I mean, even for Cyle Larin and the fact that he's had a dip in form. But what's the incentive for a club if a guy's not scoring? So he is caught in a very tricky situation here, because absolutely he can still provide something in the Liga space. He was, go back just 6-9 months ago when Mallorca's putting all these Canadian-themed videos out because Cyle Larin led them to the final of the Copa del Rey. So he can do that. He knows how to play in Spain now. He has the experience. But I also know that certainly people have been talking about a potential move back to MLS and what that would do for him in the regular playing time. But at this point, Cyle Larin wants to stay in Europe and he wants to stay in Spain.
It's unlikely a loan move would happen within La Liga because of you know how that works. Most leagues don't really like to loan if in the same league such a success. So if he is going to get a loan, Matthew, would that potentially be to a different league in Europe, do you think?
Well, remember, he did have that little fling with Club Brugge a few years ago that didn't go all that well. At this stage, at 30 years old, Cyle Larin needs to go to a situation where he knows he's going to be playing, he knows he's going to be scoring. And perhaps that means when you're trying to chart that out, it's not necessarily a league that's a top 5 league, and it might not necessarily be a team that has the stature that he may want. And if he wants to get in the World Cup squad, which anyone right now, any Canadian man, we talked about this a few weeks ago, this is the only thing they're thinking about. The idea of starting that game in Toronto on June 12th, walking out at BMO Field, and you can't do that if you're sitting on the bench, and you can't do that if you're in a situation where you think you can pick and choose. Now, I'm not implying that Cyle thinks he can pick and choose wherever he wants to go, but he might be put in a situation where, hey, here are your options, and these are the options that you have, and they may not be the ones you want, but these are the ones presenting themselves to you, and you got to pick it because your World Cup place in the starting lineup at least might be on the line.
Okay, let's just quickly go through, because we're running out of time here, a couple of other stories, a couple of other players. You mentioned Villarreal a couple of times, and players going Europe to MLS, MLS to Europe. Tani Oluwaseyi is being linked potentially with a move from Minnesota to Spain. How much do you think is in that right now?
Well, those around him aren't commenting, but I can tell you this is something I know Tani would want. And I've spoken to Tani about this every time that I've had a chance to talk to him. He is a player that wants to push himself. Sometimes he himself will admit that he has a crisis of confidence, not so much in terms of playing the game, but making sure that he's at his best all the time. And Jesse Marsh talks about this. This guy is relentless. He's diligent. But this would be a massive step up if he would go to Villarreal. I mean, you can just compare it to where Tejan Buchanan is right now at Villarreal, what happened when he moved to Europe. He was arguably one of the top 25 North American-born players when he moved to Club Brugge, and he acclimated quite quickly, then certainly struggled at Inter Milan, and now he's apparently found a home again in Villarreal. We'll see how the season plays out after his loan move at the end of last season. It would be a huge step up for Tani, and even if the numbers have tracked up and up for him in a few years in MLS, it's a massive jump to go from Minnesota United to Villarreal, which, although a smaller club in terms of the La Liga European size, a well-known club for the way it plays offensively in terms of a swashbuckling style and demanding guys who are athletic and point towards goal. And even though we know that Tani has the ball finds Tani in almost any situation, we know his finishing, especially with the Canadian men's team, hasn't always been consistent. But he wants something like this. He wants a move like this. And if he gets that opportunity, anyone would jump at it. But the expectations would then massively jump, like significantly for him, because the margin for error when you make that kind of move is very, very, very small.
We've seen, and the reporting was that Minnesota United aren't happy with the amount of money that Villarreal want to pay for Tani Oluwaseyi.
Well, yeah, Preston North
right?
End a couple of weeks ago, Preston North End and Swansea were linked as well.
Yeah.
Weren't
Right,
That
okay.
seemed like a step up to me. This is a huge jump.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah,
have seen Patrick Agyemang go from Charlotte to Derby County for about $8 million.
Yeah.
Right? So where do you compare those two players, Oluwaseyi and Agyemang? If $8 million is what you're getting for him, should Oluwaseyi be going for $8 million, or is he not at that level yet?
Is that
Stevie?
a Canadian or a US tariff as
Yeah,
well?
I think so. I think US international is a different fee, look, I have to say. And probably because there's been more success for Americans, I would say, strikers moving to Europe and doing quite well. Obviously, we have Jonathan David, we have a few that have done really well, but I think less examples of that. And I also think Agyemang's at a higher level than Oluwaseyi, I have to say, or we've seen more of Agyemang that I think could translate.
I don't think it's too much.
You don't
difference.
think so?
I don't think it's too much difference there. No. I
More an Agyemang that for me translates to the championship than Oluwaseyi.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know the league. It could would for Tani Oluwaseyi to go.
It's a tough league
right now into Villarreal. Is he ready? So a year
Well,
out from the World Cup.
Villarreal, I thought you were about championship. I was going to say there.
No, but would he could stay and play for Minnesota United and probably get 15 goals, 20 goals, whatever, start next season well, right, between now and the World Cup, or he could, because you've got the other side of it where you could go to somewhere in Spain or wherever and end up on the bench.
Yeah.
And then we're talking about in January, does Tani Oluwaseyi need a loan move because he's not playing?
If he had Villarreal there and he sat on the bench till Christmas and played, I think that's still a great move because I don't think he's at the level of Villarreal right now, and I think he's got a long way to go to get to a Villarreal level. So if he sat on the bench for 6 months, it might not be great in terms of our interest, Canada interest ahead of the World Cup, but for him personally, that's an incredible move for the technical players that's going to be around him and the chance to learn across the year.
But we just said he's got players have to play.
No, that's what I'm saying. But I'm saying maybe outside the scenario that we're in right now, that is an incredible move. I think of Josie Altidore, actually. Josie Altidore moved to Villarreal. I don't think he played at Villarreal or virtually didn't, no games, and he ended up getting shipped off on loan. It was the best thing for him that he got on loan into Holland and things like that. So it's a similar sort of scenario here, really, that they could be sign him, put him out on loan or something, because I think that would be the best scenario for him, because for him to jump from the level that we've seen him play at to go to Champions League level, I don't think. I
agree, Kev. I agree.
Couple of other quick ones, Matthew. Nico Sigur at Hajduk Split. Any chance he moves?
He's still looking for a move by the end of the window. And although over the last couple of games he's either started or featured, and that was kind of a tension point towards the end of last season. And certainly when I spoke to Nico during the Gold Cup, he had listed off the Netherlands, he listed off France, he listed off Germany, he listed off Italy as places he'd want to venture in the not too distant future. A move is still on the table right now. I mean, but we're getting into that period of time. What is it? We got less than 2 weeks before the end of the European transfer window. There hasn't been a team's name that I have heard that stuck out to me that says anything's impending. But there is that intention there to get a move, irrespective of the fact that it appears on the surface like Hajduk wants to invest a little bit more time into Sigur, but he wants to challenge himself, and that's the one thing about Nico. He takes what he does very, very seriously, and if he wants to move to see what he can do over the next year, I imagine there'll be a push before September 1st.
And the last one is the goalkeeper situation. You reported this week that Jesse Marsch is trying to bring in Atlanta United's backup goalkeeper, Jaden Hibbert, into the squad for September. I think his mum is from Mississauga, Ontario, which is the link there. One of the other comments we had from YouTube asks if there's any update on Owen Goodman as well. So just what you know on those two.
Yeah, Owen Goodman is interesting because I asked Marsch about him before the Gold Cup, and he said at this point, I don't really have anything to say. Now, I think these are two different situations. And Owen Goodman being 21 years old, obviously with Crystal Palace, I think he's on loan now to Huddersfield Town. Obviously, he was on loan with Wimbledon last year and played pretty well in a lower league. But he's 21 years old, and I would imagine his goal right now is to see if he's not going to get with Palace, then I would imagine he wants to play in the Premier League after all these loans and pressing on these loans. But Jaden Hibbert's coming in not immediately to challenge Maxime Crépeau and Dane St. Clair, but he's there to show, from what I've heard, if he does go, that he can provide some kind of competition in training. And Marsch likes to bring these guys in and see what they offer. Certainly he's had enough time to see what Tom McGill offers, the Brighton Hove Albion reserve goalkeeper who was on loan with MK Dons last year. Whether or not Jaden Hibbert impresses, that's up to him, because right now it still is Max and Dane. And I know we've been talking about this, and we will continue to talk about this, and we'll micro-examine every single thing that those guys do. But if Marsch is potentially bringing in a new guy, it's absolutely going to add a wrinkle to that competition, because it's Marsch seeing what does this guy have. And everything from those around him that I have heard is that they like him a lot, that being Atlanta United's coaching staff. Brad Guzan has been there for a long, long time, and they might be looking for a transition period at some point in an heir apparent. And all signs point to Jaden Hibbert. Whether he shows something with the Canadian men's national team, he's going to have to prove a lot in practice, because Marsch demands a lot out of his goalkeepers, and right now it's Max and Dane. And as we know, no decision has been made, but bringing another goalkeeper in does change the equation.
Okay. Well, anytime you want some free publicity, Matthew, for anything you've written, we're here to trash it, and then you can come on and have your say.
I'll make sure the online department runs all of the headlines past you three next time.
And if you could also make sure that your articles are a little less lengthy, then Stevie might actually read the first paragraph.
Maybe. Send me the next one, I'll read it, I promise.
Yeah, you don't worry. I'll get you readers, Stevie. Remember,
Thank
you know
you.
what? You're not that much older
Dictate
than
it
I
for
am.
me.
So
Dictate it for me and send me in a voice note. It'd be perfect.
Matthew Scianitti audiobook.
Oh,
Hey?
that'd be good.
Oh.
I'd buy that, Luke. I'd buy that.
That's something, right? Okay, Matthew Scianitti.
Thanks, Matthew.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Matthew.
See you, mate.
cheers, boys.
Well, it's been a jam-packed show, hasn't it?
Absolutely. Kev's not upset too many people this week. I think he's been quite
It's
measured.
like you're expecting me. You want me to upset people.
Yes.
No.
I love it when
Yes.
you upset people.
I just you know.
There are two things I like a lot, and one of them is disagreeing with both of you.
Which
But
you often do.
Actually, three things then,
Yeah.
because the other
But
thing
you
is
never
when
offer an opinion usually. So
No,
now at least you
but-
can offer we're giving you a platform to show the real Luke Wileman.
when you're wrong, I like that, and when you upset people. So more of that, please, next
All right.
week. We'll try our best.
What a show. Jam-packed, wasn't it?
Yeah, great.
We'll see you next week.